G-spot.
Yeah.
How do men find it?
So the G zone, it's not a spot actually. I think
G-zone.
a lot of guys think it's like this magical button that you have to find. Sex is a skill. You have to get good at it. And that requires you to get feedback from the person you're having sex with. Putting a pillow under her pelvis can make it more comfortable and more pleasurable. Having her on top can also allow for more pleasure because she can control sort of the angle that goes in.
Anal sex.
Yeah.
Any benefits?
Well, so like I mentioned, we talked about the Skene's glands or the G zone, right? You know how some women find that really pleasurable. That area is similar to the prostate. So some people, and there's also the clitoris and the legs of the legs of the clitoris that are around there. So they're all sort of around the rectum and the anus. And so some women will find it very pleasurable to have something inserted in the anus, and that will augment their pleasure. And so not everyone does, but just like some people find certain things pleasurable, some people don't. So in terms of like health benefits, not really, but in terms of pleasure benefits, yes. For some people, that can be a great way to for them to feel pleasure. It can be augmented with other things, like you can, stimulate them clitorally at the same time, or whatever, right? There's different ways to use it. But what I will tell people is it's not like you can't just have anal sex if you've never done anything in the anus before. You need to sort of prepare. Sometimes that means like using a toy or using a lubricated finger to sort of get the anus ready or prepared to have a phallus inside. You also need to, there's no natural lubrication. So you need lube, and go slow, go easy, take your time, and sort of like talk. You have to communicate. You have to be like, is this okay? Like there has to be a back and forth dialogue where you feel comfortable and trust each other, because it can cause damage if you do it too aggressively or too rigorously and not enough lube. You can actually damage the walls of the anus, which are really friable and thin. They're not like as elastic or muscular as the vaginal canal. And so, yeah, absolutely. It can derive a lot of pleasure. It can be a lot of fun for people. You just have to go slow, go easy, and talk to each other.
What about risks?
Like again, the big risk is that you can hurt yourself, but also there is a sexually transmitted infection risk. So oftentimes people will have anal sex, and because they can't get someone pregnant that way, they won't use a condom. But you can still transmit sexually transmitted infections, and it's actually a higher risk because there's more blood vessels. Things can tear more easily in that area. Like I said, it's not lubricated, and so they're at a higher risk of getting STDs. And so it's really important if you're having anal sex with someone where you are not monogamous and tested and clear, and you are safe to not use condoms even vaginally, you need to use a condom anally because you want to protect yourself.
What about from a bacterial standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, from a bacterial standpoint, it's not like you're going to get, you as a man, you won't get like a colon infection if they have some sort of infection. That's usually not an issue. It's more the sexually transmitted infections.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. G-spot.
Yeah.
How do men find it?
So the G zone, it's not a spot actually. I think
G-zone.
a lot of guys think it's like this magical button that you have to find. It's not. Like there's not necessarily like a obvious visual, like when you look down there, like, oh, there's a spot, like bullseye. It's No, but honestly, I think there's a lot of misconception. Like people are like, wait, was something wrong with me? I don't see it. Or like, it's not. It's an area where there's a lot of nerve endings. So the Skene's glands, which we talked about earlier, the clitoral body, the shaft, so just like the shaft of the penis, the shaft of the clitoris is around that area. And so all those areas are really highly innervated. I mean, they're really a lot of nerve endings. It's about 2 to 3 centimeters inside the vagina at the top. And so we'll say like it's like a come hither motion is sort of where you'll kind of feel it. But again, you have to talk. I think people feel like that when they have sex, they should just be like magical gods at sex, and it should just be perfect, and like it should be this amazing experience like off the bat. And it doesn't make sense to me, because it's a skill just like anything else. Like you don't expect to like go do a public speech and be amazing at it the first time, right? It's a skill that you develop with time. Even talking to someone or dating, it's all skills that we learn and we cultivate. And so just like that, sex is a skill. You have to get good at it. And that requires you to get feedback from the person you're having sex with. But we just expect it like, okay, we're just going to have sex. There's going to be just moans and groans, but no talking. And it's going to be great. And everyone's going to have great orgasms and we're going to be wonderful at it. It's like, but we have to invest in having better sex. Like, what is the point of having sex that's not worth having? Right? Nobody wants mediocre sex. Let's have good sex. And so that means like, let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex outside the bedroom. Let's like find out like, hey, what turns you on? What is something that you've always been fantasizing about? Or what is, what was good? Like, what did you like about that? And what could be better? You know, and let's not take it so personally. Like, we are trying to be better lovers with each other. Right. And so like, it's important to sort of be like, okay, what's good? What's not good? How can we change this up? The other thing is like monotony is a huge issue. So like people find what works and they do it every time. And that's great. Like, it's comforting to have a routine. But if I was to tell you, hey, you're going to have chicken and broccoli every day for the rest of your life, you'd be like, I don't know if I can do that every day, right? I need a pizza someday, or I need a steak someday, whatever, right? And so it's the same thing. Like, you need to sort of have a little bit of variety. It doesn't need to be crazy. Like, it doesn't need to be like, let's get out the whips and chains. And like, it can be just as simple as doing it in a different room, doing it at a different time, doing it in a different, like slightly different position, using a pillow, not using a pillow, like just slight variations that make it just different enough where you're like, ooh, this is kind of different. Like, this is kind of cool, and keeps you sort of interested, excited, engaged in the process.
Are there any positions that men could do that are easier in finding the G zone?
Well,
or that women enjoy more?
So we know that when women have control, meaning they're on top or they can sort of angle their bodies in certain ways, that they tend to have more pleasure because they can, again, sort of angle you in a certain way that allows them to achieve more pleasure. So certain things like putting a pillow, so if she's on the bottom, putting a pillow under her pelvis can make it more comfortable and more pleasurable. Having her on top can also allow for more pleasure because she can control sort of the angle that goes in. And there's also certain things, not necessarily the G zone, but there's things that can help you like stimulate the clitoris better while you're having vaginal penetrative sex. So certain positions where you're like sort of aligning your pelvis right on top of her clitoris so that you're kind of like rocking motion, that can also lead to better orgasms. So people focus on the G zone because they hear about it a lot, but it's analogous to the male prostate. Now, not every guy wants prostate play. Like, not every guy wants their prostate stimulated for pleasure. And so I don't think we need to focus on the G zone. We need to focus on clitoral stimulation and also talking to our partner, finding out what they like. Because again, not everybody wants their G zone stimulated. Like, it may not be pleasurable for them, or it may not really do anything for them. Whereas some people may be like, yeah, that's it. I love that. And I that really turns me on, but you won't know until you ask her.
What about, we talked about, how often it would be, what an ideal, what do you call this? Ejaculation cycle, for a man. What's healthy? 21 times a month. Great. What about women?
Yeah, so, there's so little data on women, but I would venture to say probably, having regular orgasms is good for you, right? They don't necessarily always see an ejaculate like men do. And that's different from squirting. Ejaculate is just like this milky white fluid that comes from the Skene's glands. And it's usually a very small amount. So we don't always see it. It's not always very clear. Some women will be like, yes, I see it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And some people are like, I've never seen it. That's okay. But it's more about the orgasm, I think, because that's what you can sort of reliably say. And I think that the orgasm is what we should focus on, is getting orgasms for women. And really the thing is, I think for women, it's probably, we don't get Skene's glands cancer is very common, right? Prostate cancer, 1 in 8 men get prostate cancer, right? So it's very common. So it's not, I don't think there's a benefit in that term, but I do think for health benefits, for stress reduction, for pleasure benefits, I think regular orgasms are great. Again, I can't give you an exact number, but I think like if you feel like you are enjoying how often you're having orgasms, do it. And if you feel like you could have more, that's fine.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And If you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.